Listen closely. If you chase her, you push her away. If you vanish with strength, something ancient inside her wakes up. I'm not here to sell you hope. I'm here to tell you the uncomfortable truth men avoid hearing. When a woman leaves, it's rarely because she stopped feeling. It's because the emotional frame collapsed and she no longer felt safe inside it. Safety isn't comfort. Safety is certainty mixed with mystery. When you begged, explained, overexted, or tried to be the good guy, you told her you needed her to regulate your worth. Attraction suffocates when it becomes responsible for your peace. Here's the shift. You stop trying to pull her back, and you start acting like a man whose life is already moving forward. Not pretending, not posting thirst traps, real movement. You protect your time. You rebuild your body, your routine, your mission. You speak less and mean more. Silence becomes clean, not cold. Presence becomes grounded, not needy. This does something powerful to female psychology. It removes pressure while restoring polarity. She can finally feel again because she's no longer managing your emotions. Most men think distance kills attraction. It doesn't. Predictability does. When you were always available, always explaining, always seeking closure, you erase the space where desire lives. Desire needs a gap. It needs the sense that you are choosing her, not clinging to her. The moment you stop chasing reassurance, you become the source of it. Act like this, respond, don't react. If she reaches out, be warm but brief. No interrogations, no emotional dumps. You don't punish her with silence, and you don't reward her with access to your soul. You let consistency speak. You let your life speak. You let your calm tell her what your words never could. There's a paradox here most men miss. The more you try to convince her to come back, the more you confirm the reason she left. When you stand solid, unattached to outcome, you rewrite the story in her nervous system. She remembers how it felt when you led without forcing, cared without begging, desired without needing. That memory is stronger than any text you could send. This isn't manipulation, it's alignment. You're not acting to get her back. You're acting because this is who you are now. And when a woman senses that shift, she doesn't feel chased, she feels invited. And invitations are hard to ignore. Understand this quietly. Women are intuitive observers of momentum. They feel when a man is stalled, looping, waiting. They also feel when he's building, choosing, expanding. Momentum is magnetic because it promises direction. When you detach from the outcome, you stop leaking anxiety. Your nervous system settles. Your voice slows. Your eyes soften. That coherence is rare. It tells her you can hold space without grabbing. It tells her conflict won't swallow you whole. Over time, curiosity replaces resistance. She wonders what changed. She tests the air. She notices your steadiness in small exchanges. And if reconnection happens, it happens on healthier ground. Not as a rescue, not as a relapse, but as a choice between two adults who can stand alone. That distinction matters more than desire because it protects dignity, restores trust, and keeps attraction alive without fear, gains, or promises. Nothing here asks you to disappear, only to return to yourself and let the rest respond naturally. Patience becomes power when you stop proving and start embodying value daily. What actually pulls her back isn't nostalgia, it's contrast. The contrast between the man she thought she understood and the man she now feels uncertain about in the right way. Female psychology responds to emotional recalibration, not logical arguments. You don't win her back by explaining your growth. You let her feel it without announcing it. Here's where most men sabotage themselves. They improve, but they broadcast it. New body, new mindset, new discipline, and suddenly it's all over social media or bleeding into conversations. That's still seeking validation. Real change is quiet. It shows up in how you listen without interrupting, how you don't rush to fill silence, how you don't flinch when she's unsure. Calm confidence is not loud. It's steady. Act like this. You don't reopen old wounds. If she brings up the past, you acknowledge without defending. No justifications, no relitigating. You own your part briefly and redirect the energy forward. This tells her something critical. You're not stuck. You're not fragile. You're not trying to rewrite history to feel better. You've integrated it. Integration is attractive because it signals emotional maturity. And maturity feels safe without being boring. Another truth men resist. Women return when they feel emotionally free to choose, not cornered by guilt or pressure. When you stop framing yourself as the man who was wronged or abandoned, you remove the weight she associates with you. Suddenly thinking about you doesn't feel heavy. It feels open. Lightness invites curiosity. Pressure kills it. Your behavior now must be internally consistent. You don't oscillate between cold and intense. You don't disappear to provoke anxiety, then reappear to collect attention. That's instability. And women sense it instantly. Instead, you become predictably grounded. Your boundaries are clear, but kind. You don't chase, but you don't hide. You're available, not accessible, on demand. There's a difference. This stability creates a subtle emotional dilemma for her. Her nervous system remembers the old dynamic, but her present experience doesn't match it anymore. That mismatch creates cognitive and emotional tension. She starts asking herself questions you never asked out loud. Why does he seem different? Why doesn't he need reassurance? Why does being around him feel calmer but still charged? Those questions work in your favor because they happen inside her where real decisions are made. Attraction isn't about intensity alone, it's about regulation. A regulated man allows a woman to relax without losing interest. She doesn't have to manage your reactions. She doesn't have to guess your emotional state. That predictability frees her to feel desire again, instead of responsibility. Desire returns when responsibility leaves, and understand this part deeply. Even if she doesn't come back immediately, you've already won something more important. You restored your center from that place, whether she returns or not. You don't shrink, you don't resent, you don't chase ghosts. Ironically, that's when returns happen most often. Not because you wanted it desperately, but because you no longer needed it to feel whole. This is how the dynamic flips. She senses you're no longer waiting. You're living. You're choosing your days intentionally. And when a woman feels she must choose to step into your world instead of rescuing you from it, the door opens in her mind. Not forcefully, not dramatically, quietly, naturally, and that's the only way it ever lasts. There's a moment most men never see because it happens silently inside her. It's the moment she realizes she no longer has emotional control over you, not in a cruel way, in a grounding way. And when that realization lands, something shifts from comfort to attraction. When you were together, she knew your emotional patterns. She knew how to pull reassurance from you, how to calm herself by your predictability, how to feel important by your reactions. When that pattern breaks, not through anger but through growth, her nervous system has to recalibrate. Humans are wired to notice change in emotional environments. Women especially feel it before they understand it. Act like this. You stop performing for approval. You don't try to impress her with success stories or lessons learned. You don't angle conversations toward proving you've changed. You let your tone do the work. You let your pace do the work. You're no longer in a hurry to be understood. That alone signals confidence most men never reach. Here's the psychological lever. Emotional self-sufficiency. When a woman senses that your happiness is no longer dependent on her validation, it removes a burden she may not have known she was carrying. That burden is subtle but heavy. It's the pressure of being someone's emotional anchor. When it's gone, space opens, and in that space, attraction can breathe again. You also stop seeking certainty. You don't ask where you stand. You don't chase clarity. You allow ambiguity without panic. This is critical. The ability to tolerate uncertainty without collapsing is one of the strongest markers of masculine emotional strength. It tells her you trust yourself more than outcomes. That trust is contagious. If she tests you, and she will, you don't react defensively. Tests aren't traps. They're information gathering. She's checking whether the old version of you is still there. If she pulls back slightly, you don't chase. If she leans in, you don't overwhelm. You meet her energy without amplifying or diminishing it. That balance creates safety and tension at the same time, which is rare and powerful. Another uncomfortable truth, missing you is not enough to bring her back. Women miss many men they never return to. What brings her back is respect layered with emotional curiosity. Respect comes from boundaries. Curiosity comes from unpredictability rooted in consistency. You're consistent in values, unpredictable in access. That combination keeps the mind engaged. You also detach from the idea that she owes you a return. Entitlement poisons attraction faster than mistakes ever did. When you release the mental contract that says your growth should be rewarded with her presence, you free yourself from resentment. And resentment is always felt, even when unspoken. Notice how your body changes when you do this. Your shoulders drop, your breath deepens, your voice steadies. This isn't cosmetic, it's nervous system regulation. Women respond to regulated men because regulation promises safety without control. It says, I can hold myself and I can hold space for you. Here's the paradox. The less you try to secure her, the more secure she feels around you. The less you push for answers, the more she starts imagining outcomes. The less you chase connection, the more connection becomes possible. And even if she never returns, this version of you doesn't collapse. That's the point. You're no longer acting from fear of loss. You're acting from alignment. And alignment is attractive not because it guarantees reunion, but because it guarantees integrity. From that place, any woman who steps into your life does so by choice, not obligation. And when she senses that choice is real, the pull becomes undeniable. There is one behavior that changes everything, and it's the hardest for most men to embody because it feels counterintuitive. You stop trying to be unforgettable and you become irreplaceable. Unforgettable is loud, irreplaceable is felt over time. Female psychology doesn't lock on to dramatic gestures the way movies suggest. It locks onto emotional patterns that feel rare. When you become a man who is calm under pressure, consistent without being dull, and emotionally present without being invasive, you create a signature experience. She may not consciously label it, but her body remembers how she feels around you. And the body always votes louder than the mind. Act like this. You let her experience the absence of your emotional labor. Not punishment, not withdrawal, just a natural reallocation of your energy back into your own life. You stop checking your phone for her name. You stop replaying conversations in your head. You stop building fantasies about reunion. That mental quietness changes how you show up everywhere. And she can sense it, even if you haven't spoken in weeks. This is where attraction often reignites. Not when you reappear, but when you stop orbiting. When you're no longer energetically available for emotional dependency. She feels the shift as a loss of access, not a loss of you. Access is what many women unconsciously value more than presence. Losing access triggers reflection. Reflection triggers desire, if respect is still intact. Another truth that stings but liberates. Closure doesn't come from her explanation. It comes from your acceptance. The moment you stop needing her to understand your pain, justify her decision, or validate your growth, you reclaim your power. That power isn't aggressive, it's quiet. And quiet power is deeply attractive because it can't be manipulated. If she reaches out emotionally, you don't rush to rescue her feelings. You listen, you acknowledge, you don't fix. Men who fix too quickly signal anxiety. Men who can hold emotion without solving signal strength. That distinction alone separates boys from men in female perception. You also stop future tripping. You don't talk about what could be, what should have been, or what might happen. You stay present. Presence feels rare in a world addicted to anticipation and regret. When a woman experiences presence with you, she associates you with peace, not pressure. Peace doesn't kill attraction. When it's paired with grounded masculinity, it deepens it. At some point, she will compare. Not consciously, not maliciously, but instinctively. She'll notice how other men react emotionally, how they seek reassurance, how they push for clarity, and the contrast will sharpen. You won't have to compete, you'll simply stand apart. Here's the part men rarely hear. Even if she comes back, the goal isn't to recreate the old relationship. That version ended for a reason. The goal is to see if a new dynamic can exist between two changed people. And that only happens if you don't collapse into who you used to be the moment she shows interest again. Consistency over time is the real test. Attraction that survives time is built on congruence, not intensity. This approach requires patience most men don't practice. But patience isn't waiting. It's living fully without gripping outcomes. When you do that, you stop radiating lack. And lack is the one thing female intuition detects instantly. Understand this deeply. You don't act like this to get her back. You act like this because it's the strongest, healthiest version of you. And from that place, if she returns, it's because she chooses you freely, not because you pulled, pushed, or convinced. That choice is everything. Because when a woman chooses you without pressure, she doesn't just come back. She stays differently. Here is the final truth, and it's the one that determines everything that comes after. A woman doesn't come back because you waited correctly. She comes back because she feels a new emotional reality when she thinks of you. And that reality is created by who you became when no one was watching. By now, the old urge to monitor her actions should be fading. You're no longer reading signs, decoding silence, or attaching your mood to her behavior. That shift is the real work. When your internal state stabilizes, you stop sending invisible signals of hunger, fear, and urgency. What replaces them is grounded presence. And presence is felt even at a distance. If she returns, it often happens subtly. A casual message, a soft check-in, a question that doesn't need to be asked. When that moment comes, the old version of you would spike with adrenaline and overinvest instantly. This version doesn't. You stay measured, warm, but not rushing, interested, but not dependent. You allow the connection to rebuild at a human pace, not an emotional sprint. This is crucial. Women watch what happens after they reopen the door. If you flood the space with intensity, reassurance seeking, or future promises, attraction collapses. Again. But if you stay centered, playful, present, and unattached to outcome, curiosity deepens, trust rebuilds, desire follows. And here's the deeper psychological reason. When you no longer need her to choose you, her choice becomes meaningful again. Humans value what feels freely chosen. Obligation kills desire. Freedom fuels it. When she senses you're okay either way, she doesn't feel trapped. She feels drawn. Even if she doesn't come back, this process still wins. Because the man you become doesn't need emotional closure from someone else. He creates it internally. He doesn't chase validation. He attracts alignment. He doesn't fear loss because he knows he can rebuild connection from a place of strength, not desperation. That's the paradox most men miss. The moment you fully accept that she may never return is often the moment your energy changes enough that she does. Not always, but often enough that it's worth becoming this version of yourself regardless. Female psychology responds to self-respect more than persuasion. It responds to emotional safety more than promises. And it responds to a man who leads his own life more than one who waits to be chosen. So act like this going forward. You choose yourself daily. You regulate your emotions. You build momentum. You let connections unfold instead of forcing them. You allow women to meet you where you are, not where you used to beg from. If she comes back, it's because she recognizes the man in front of her, not the memory behind her. And if she doesn't, another woman will. One who meets you at this level without needing to be convinced. Now, here's the question I want you to answer honestly, and I want you to answer it in the comments. If you rate your current self-respect on a scale from 1 to 10, and your emotional discipline on a scale from 1 to 10, what's the total? Add those two numbers together and tell me your score below. If this message shifted your perspective, like this video, subscribe for more truth they never explain, and share this with a friend who needs to hear it right.